everyone, I'm Shorty from Iron Resurrection, and if you ain't watching Rides Done Right, you ain't watching shit.
I'm Dave Kindig, and you're watching Bitchin' Rides Done Right.
Hello friends. In this video I'll be covering the accessories added to my Yamaha YXZ1000R Sport Shift Special Edition, with photos and video to give you ideas for your project. Before I start, be aware that I have photos, links, prices, and more on all of this stuff hosted on my website, and you can find a link to my website down in the details sections of this video. Please like and subscribe to be notified of my latest videos. Generally, the first thing I do when I get a rig is scour the internet to help compile a list of accessories, and then I pick those that I want and prioritize the list. I've found that it is helpful for me to categorize them so I can try to determine when I'll be working in an area so I can install everything related to the area at the same time, versus having to disassemble and reassemble the same area over and over each time I get a new accessory. And this proved to be the case the most with this car's electrical accessories. I'm a huge fan of OEM parts, as you can count on them fitting your rig without having to modify them. It seemed odd to me that Yamaha didn't make bumpers a part of their standard offering, but they didn't, so I started with their stylish front grab bumper that nicely follows the contour of the body, and then the rear bumper that does the same. Storage is a big deal for exploring and playing, and I chose Yamaha's rear cargo box as it fit nicely and actually stores a lot of stuff. I knew I wanted their gauge pod that nicely arranges switches in an easy to reach and see location, but they discontinued them a while back and trying to find one was a pain. It actually took me several months. It's pretty common knowledge that the OEM cage doesn't handle rollovers or front intrusion well, so getting an aftermarket better built cage with reinforcements at the front and rear and intrusion bars is a must-have. I chose Super ATV Nerf bars, which in addition to the side protection include a large covering skid plate for underneath. The 3-inch wide 5-point harness makes me feel much more secure than the little OEM belts, and are especially nice when you're going through the whoops. The only mirror I could find that fit it was an expensive Axia Alloys mirror, but I must admit that the panoramic view is very nice. The half windshield came with it, and so far when the weather is nice, we've liked it better without any windscreen to get better vision. The advantage to buying used in this case was my car already came with nice performance additions, which included an Alba racing exhaust, tune, light flywheel, airbox spacer, and a smog delete. The Jagged Racing high-capacity oil tank maximizes my clean oil flow and is much better than the OEM. Most folks with side-by-side experience know that tie rods are a weak point, so I opted for Weller Racing front tie rods to gain more strength. Before I started installing electronics, I got a 12-gang switch panel and mapped out which accessories I would get and how they would interact with that switch panel. I wired all of the accessories under the hood, and my goal was to keep my area through the battery section nice and clean. The car came with a full-length light bar and custom dynamics mirrors with driving lights and sequential turn signals. I added Ben Laurie turn signals to the rear that I got from Amazon. I installed 2 Nylite reverse lights to the rear and put a chase bar between them. Kemimoto removable whips with lights mount nicely in the aftermarket cage. When I bought the front grab bar, I also bought the factory worn winch kit for it, which was pretty spendy with all the individual things I also needed, like the specific winch wiring kit. I mounted the toggle switch and remote plug-in into the gauge pod, and I put a toggle cover over it so nobody would accidentally try to pull the winch in when it was already in. Rather than diving into a top-notch horn, I just opted for a cheap $10 special on Amazon to see how it works, and it sounds fine. I couldn't decide whether to go with the Garmin tread setup or rugged radios, so I did both. First, I dove in the deep end and put together the ultimate rugged radio setup, which included the YXZ Complete Communication Kit with intercom and STX stereo. I selected both the helmet headsets and the Alpha audio headsets, so I would be covered either way I decided to go. I also got a pair of their handheld radios so I could communicate with people back at camp, or as a backup if my YXZ's battery went dead. Since I added an assault steering wheel with the PTT mount, I ordered the push-to-talk button to have a cleaner setup. One of the things I was glad to find was the magnetic cover that goes over the radio. Their initial setup, when you put them in, doesn't really have a finished look to it, so just looking at them, I felt they were missing something there. So it's nice to just run the cover. It keeps debris and stuff out of the radio anyway, and it looks nice. And it doesn't put it in people's face that might want to look at it and steal something. The Garmin Tread offered me a method to communicate via the group ride, which allows a really cool group map interface with up to 20 other cars. But in addition to that, I really wanted to have their backup camera, which gave me the ability to leave the cam on all the time while riding, so I could have an uninterrupted view behind me at all times. I plugged the Garmin in my USB port to ensure the battery doesn't run down. As usual, I like to design custom decals to make my stuff look unique. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.